Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second online life group. I hope you enjoyed last week, and I hope what we're doing here helps guide your group discussion while we struggle to adapt to the changes that COVID-19 has brought on us all. Just like last time, I'm going to start by reading the Refresco, and then we'll work our way through the questions. After each question, you'll be prompted to pause the video so you can discuss it as a group. Then we can restart the video to hear my answer. Let's get started. George Mueller's heart was broken. He was a pastor in England in the early 1800s, and everywhere he looked, he saw orphaned children living on the streets. Something had to be done, and George felt like God was calling him to be the man to do it. But George faced another problem. He didn't have any money. He had a family of his own, and he didn't even receive a salary from the church he pastored. So George decided to pray. George continued to pray for the rest of his life. During his 60 years in ministry, he never asked for money, and he never took a salary. He never told anyone about his needs. And yet, God used George to build 5 orphanages and care for over 10,000 children. Through all of this, George kept a journal, and he recorded over 50,000 specific answered prayers. Almost 30,000 of these, he said, were answered within the same hour or day that he prayed. Does this sound like a man who struggled to pray? Not to me. But as it turned out, George did struggle with prayer. He said he often didn't feel like praying and that he had to constantly fight against letting his mind wander. How did George overcome his struggle to pray? He started in the same way that Pastor Ruben encouraged us to start, by allowing God to speak first. Rather than trying to get in the right mood, George allowed the scriptures to set the table. As he would read, he would talk to God about what he was reading, and eventually he found himself in the right frame of mind, and he was able to express his needs and his wants and his emotions freely to God. Now let's dive into those questions. Question number 1. Describe a time when God answered your prayers and provided for you or your family. Wow. The first thing that comes to mind for me was when we were all in Germany. Kim and I were pretty much ready to come home the first day we got there, but that didn't seem to be the right time. And there had been several times while we were there that we thought God was opening a door for us to leave early. But every time we just felt like He was saying, that wasn't His best. That wasn't really what we wanted or what He wanted for us. But I remember very clearly, we've been there about two and a half years, and I was upstairs praying. It was on a Sunday afternoon, and I asked God, when I was going to leave, where we were going to go next, and I got an odd answer. At least I thought it was odd. Don't lift a finger. It just popped into my head. So I thought, okay, all right, fine. Don't lift a finger. Trust God instead. I thought I understood roughly what that meant. I went to work the next day. As soon as I walked in the office, my supervisor called, asked me to come to his office, and there was this man sitting there. I never met him before. Didn't know anything about him. And I was told to my horror, this guy was going to spend an entire week with me. I had no idea. I didn't know him. And I was going to have to, babysit him all week long. Well, it didn't wind up being that bad, and we hit it off right away. We had a great working relationship, and we got to the end of the week, and he and I had gone to lunch, and he asked me if I would like to come back to headquarters here in Maryland and work for him, and I said, yeah, that I would, and he said, don't lift a finger. Within a few months, here I was. So, I think that's the answer I would give. All right, question number 2. How does prayer fit into your walk with Christ? Is this your first stop or your last resort? Certainly for most of my life, prayer was typically a last resort. And maybe that's normal. Maybe if you're like me, I used to have a lot more faith than myself. You know what I mean? For years, I'd say my first 40 years, I just had full confidence that I could get the job done. The older I've gotten, the less confidence I have in myself. I can still find a way to get the job done. But I think, as you go through life and as you experience different things, you just wind up realizing that, we really weren't meant to walk this walk alone. And that the more we reach out to God, the more we realize, you know what, this really is what I was meant for. And as an example to that, nowadays, I pray while I program. I program computers for a living. It's something I love to do. For some reason, when I'm doing it, I feel like I'm writing a letter to the computer. I know that sounds crazy, but that's just how it goes into my mind. I feel like I'm talking to the computer. Well, now I've just kind of included God in the conversation, and while I write, I talk to Him about it. And when the program inevitably doesn't do what I wanted it to do, I ask God why, and He answers me. I'm not saying that I always get like words, but the inspiration hits me, and when inspiration hits me and I find the problem, I always thank Him for it, and it just very much feels like we have this ongoing dialogue. So definitely for me now, prayer step one. Okay, question 3. Have you experienced immediate answers to your prayers like George did within the same day or even the same hour that you prayed? How has this increased your faith? You know, the first thing that comes to mind for me for this one, God had been very clear that we were going to Germany. Now, I've told you actually earlier in this one that we were ready to come home the day we got there. We weren't really that excited about going to start with, but God had been really clear. And so we had been expecting it for a long time, and the ball had been rolling for a long time. And, we had started to kind of get into the idea. We liked it. Anyway, I received an email one day from the guy who had the job in Germany, and he said, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I'm not going to be able to get you hired. I'm sorry." Oddly enough, I was upset. I was upset. I mean, maybe I was a little heartbroken. I was really looking forward to it. So it was right at lunchtime. So I decided instead of eating lunch, I would go take my lunch in the park. So I got up, got my truck, drove to the park, and I started to pray to God about it. It's odd. I don't know if you've experienced this before. You know, when I pray, I mean, this is God, so I want to have a certain amount of reverence. But in this case, you know, sometimes you really are emotionally charged, and you kind of can't help it. And that was the case in this one, because as soon as I started to pray, I intended to be reverent, but what come out was, "What are you doing to me, God?" I was very upset. I was very frustrated. I mean, I kind of wanted to slap my hand over my mouth, because it's just not how you talk to God. But I got an answer instantly. Remind him you were in the Air Force. Okay, I had no idea what that was about. I didn't even stay in the park. I cranked up. I went back. I wrote the guy a letter. "Hey, you know, don't worry about it. By the way, I was in the Air Force." Send. I woke up at 1 o'clock that morning with this just burning desire to check my email. So I went and checked it, and I had just gotten, within like 6 minutes, I had just gotten an email from the man in Germany. "Oh my gosh, forgot you were in Germany. Forgot you were in the Air Force. If you can have your resume in tomorrow, there's still a chance for you to get the job." And obviously I did. The rest is history. So, yeah. All right, question 4. What about examples of unanswered prayers? When you don't get an immediate answer, how does that affect your faith? You know, I'm glad we included a question about unanswered prayers. As I was kind of reflecting over my last couple of answers, and hopefully that didn't come off as God is cool, because God isn't cool, and the purpose of this isn't, to see me as to glorify Scott. The purpose is not to glorify Scott; it's to glorify God. And I think really we, just maybe we glorify God most when our prayers are unanswered. I think in the beginning for me, when I first became a Christian, I didn't ask God for much. I asked Him to do things for other people, but I didn't really ask Him to do anything for me. And I think that was really just because I didn't think He would do anything for me. I think I went for a lot of years. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not saying that I had some negative opinion of God. I'm not saying that I thought He was that He didn't love me. I just didn't expect Him to give me anything. Nowadays, of course, I do. Nowadays, I mean, I very much expect it, but there are things that I have been praying for years, things that I feel like I'm going to need to continue praying for even years to come. And there are things that I had that I prayed for years that I finally just had to accept that this wasn't God's will. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay. Look, I have enough trouble getting through the normal things in life, and I bet you feel that way sometimes too, right? How in the world could I possibly know what best is or what I really need? I mean, I know that there are things in my life that I want, but I trust that if God thought it was the best thing to give me, He would have given it to me already. And so when He doesn't answer the prayer, well, may the name of the Lord be praised. All right, question number 5. What do you think of George's practice of keeping a prayer journal? What benefits might you experience from doing the same? I love George's idea. Keeping a prayer journal, it sounds like a great idea. I mean, I like the idea so much that I've tried to do the same thing. I bought a really nice prayer journal, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and it's really cool looking, this leather thing with a strap. And my idea was that if I made it cool enough, that then I would want to use it, but it just, it just doesn't really fit my personality. I pray quite a lot, but as far as just stopping and taking the time to write it down, I don't. I have done it some, and when I have gone back and looked at it, naturally, I've forgotten whatever I wrote in there. If it's been more than, say, I don't know, 2 hours since I wrote it, maybe I could remember for a day. It bolsters my faith when I see that, but it's, again, it seems like the greatest idea in the world, but it doesn't really fit my personality. Is prayer a struggle for you? Do you ever struggle to pray? Do you sometimes skip a day? Do I ever struggle to pray and skip a day? I mean, sort of, kind of. Like I said, I wouldn't say I skip a day of prayer anymore, because now I'm just kind of talking to God all the time. But I do intend to have an early morning quiet time that's going to be mostly prayer every day. I try to get up at 5. And you know what? I struggled with this for years, and maybe some of what I do will help because I usually get up at 5. I've realized that if I just immediately go downstairs, sit in a chair, and try to pray, I would probably just fall back asleep. So I start with this little song. I sing it really terribly, but hey, it's the thought that counts, clearly. So I just kind of walk around downstairs singing this song of praise that I learned from a lady in a Bible study some years ago. And I don't know, I just do it until it feels right. I just sing until it feels good. And then I start reading the Bible. And like George, like Pastor recommended, I just kind of let the Word set the table. And, I don't usually read for very long before I come up with some sort of a question for God or something I don't understand, and then from there, after I ask the question, it just feels like it's time to start praying, and I do. I do not do that every day. I'm decent with it. I'm decent with it. I would say I, on average, probably hit 5 out of 7 days a week with it. I'm decent with it. I mean, I want to go 7 for 7, but sometimes, man, that alarm clock. You just got to hit the snooze. And hey, just full disclosure, everybody struggles with that. So do I miss a day praying? No, but I do miss my quiet time some. And, I do find that I'm less equipped for the day. I'm not saying that if I pray, if I have my morning time, I'm going to have a good day every day. I mean, everybody knows that that's not the case. But I do feel like, whether good day or bad day, if I start off with prayer, I just feel like I'm, more equipped to handle it. Question 7, we made it to the end. We're almost done. All right, consider Paul's instruction to the Philippians. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all that He's done. How can you apply this verse to your daily prayer life? I love this verse. I'm sure some of you guys do too. Oddly enough, Kim and I are actually praying through a crisis right now. right before we started, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour or so before we started making this recording, we got a phone call from the people who live in our house in Las Cruces. They had taken a trip, and they found out when they got to Phoenix that a pipe had burst in the upstairs of our house and apparently completely flooded the upstairs, broke through sheetrock, and started leaking down into the the bottom floor. And I don't know. We were concerned. Of course, we prayed. Everything has already come together, at least good enough for us. We found out that the homeowner's insurance, had us covered, and this was something that was going to be covered. But it is maybe surprising. I was a worrier for most of my life. And yet, here we are. We live in Maryland, and 2 of our sons are in Missouri, and 3 of our sons are in New Mexico. And we know that there's a path that's going to take us back to be with you guys in New Mexico sometime between tomorrow and a few years from now. And we have all these moving parts. There's all these things, that we really don't have any control over. And we've just had to learn how to trust God. And you know what? It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable if you happen to be there now. If you happen to be one of those people that's struggling for control, because I did that for 40 years. And because you want to try to handle it yourself, you find that you are worrying. I would tell you, I've been on both sides of it, and this side is better. This side is better. Pray about everything. And in time, as your faith grows, you find you won't be worrying about much of anything. And I've been on both sides. That's the better side. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I hope you have enjoyed tonight and our online life groups. We don't know how long this is going to continue, but for as long as we need to, I'll be making these groups. For those of you that this is your introduction to Life Group, I say again what I said last week, guys. If you like this, I promise you're going to love Real Life Group. With this, we covered that last week. You can have snacks anytime you want, because you can just hit pause and go over and have snacks. I'm the only guy that doesn't get to have snacks. But it's not just about the snacks, and it's certainly not just about having someone like me sit here and preach to you. Hopefully you guys are getting something out of it. Hopefully you're enjoying it. But the real beauty of Life Group, the real payoff is not what you get, but what you get to give back when you get to take the gifts that God has given you through the Holy Spirit and use them to serve other people and love other people. That's really where it's at. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'm going to close us in prayer, and I hope everyone has a terrific week. Father, we thank you for being with us, and we thank you for blessing us, and we thank you for your word, and we thank you for the gift of prayer, for making it so that we could come boldly before your throne and make our requests known, and that even though we're small and you are so big, that you care about us, and you care about the things that trouble us, and then you want to provide for us. And we thank you for that, Lord. And Father, I ask that you would be with each and every person that is with us tonight, and that you would bless their life, and that you would keep us safe. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Take care, guys.